The United States makes the UN work when it wants it to work. And that is exactly the way it should be, because the only question to the United States is what's in our national interest.
My name is John, and the International Criminal Court is back in session. As all of you know by now, I was on vacation for the last couple of weeks in Italy. And I had a great time while I was there, but I got sick during, I guess, the end of the first week while I was there. But fortunately, I did not let that ruin my vacation. But something else, though, did. And I'll get to that in a bit. But I am back now. It's great to be back. There's a lot of things to report on during the last couple of weeks. And also the last 24 hours or so. So let's start. Now, as all of you know by now, Israel and Iran are basically at full-blown war with each other. They are exchanging blow-by-blow rockets, drones, missiles, you name it, at each other. A lot of people, especially within Iran, have died, though Israel has been taking hits themselves within the city of Tel Aviv, and they have also been doubling down on their operations within the Gaza Strip. But that is all I have to say for now, because that might be a separate video. But yeah, Israel and Iran are at war during the last few days or so, and to be quite honest with all of you, shit's crazy. Literally. The fact that it actually happened while I was away didn't really surprise me too much, because tensions have been building up for a while between Israel and Iran. And the fact that many military officers within the Iranian state have already died is very unacceptable for Iran, though I'm sure that they'll be able to replace all of them. Though they may not be as good as those guys who just died. During the strikes, that is. But I digress. Let's talk about the situation in Ukraine. So, 1 or 2 days after I left for Italy, the entirety of Russia came under attack by Ukrainian drones. Literally, a group of, random guys in trucks or something who were probably working for the SBU activated their drones and destroyed a bunch of equipment within Russia itself. It happened all over the country, even in the eastern parts too. A lot of shit was lost, but fortunately not a lot of human casualties were recorded, though still a very embarrassing loss for Russia. I mean, the fact that they lost that many planes to begin with is unacceptable, but it seems, as of right now, the Russians are retaliating with their death by 1,000 cut strategy, as they usually do. They don't do everything, in one go. When they strike Ukraine, they do things, piece by piece. And as far as I know, it looks like, despite the overwhelming attacks there have been on the Russian air bases across mainland Russia itself, that it has not affected the Russians' ability to carry out its offensives within Ukraine itself. And speaking of which, let's actually get to that. First of all, we are going to talk about the situation within the Kharkiv direction, okay? Now, once again, nothing much has changed in Volchansk, though Russians appear to be basically wrapping up northern Volchansk, and as far as I know, it looks like the Russians apparently have partial control over the northern part of the city, or the town itself, but that's pretty much it. Deep State UA has confirmed that the Russians have taken full control of Dovrychina. Took them long enough, by the way, but it appears that that's now the reality of things, and in addition, the Russians have also advanced north of the town itself as well, and are advancing in the direction of the villages of Putnikove and Dvoniki. and also the village of Fyholivka. Russians have also apparently have been confirmed to 100% taken the village of Krasny Pershy, or Pershe. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the Kharkiv direction, though Borova is in danger of being flanked due to the recent Russian activities taking place here in the northern Liman direction. And speaking of which, it appears that Zeline Dolina is under threat by the Russians, along with basically everything here too. That is just south of the border with Kharkiv Oblast. Russians have also apparently entered the Kharkiv region from northern Donetsk, and have also continued its push into Kolodyazy, though the village has not fallen yet. The Russians apparently also look to have taken Torske, but it appears that they got pushed out again, which should be no surprise because Ukrainian defenses there are very good. And there was even reports of some Ukrainian defenses south of Crimea, though I doubt it's going to go anywhere. And in the Siversk direction, it appears that the village of Kryhorivka has been taken by the Russians as a whole, and are advancing from these two villages here towards the town of Siversk, Ivano-Dorivka, and also the village of Verkhyom-Yansky. Sorry if I mispronounced that. The Russians are also continuing to mop up the rest of Chasiv Yar. They have taken more of the southern portion of the town of Chasiv Yar, this neighborhood here. And again, I repeat, as I said multiple times, I think the Battle of Chasiv Yar is either going to end this month or it's going to end in July. These neighborhoods are not going to fall, not fall, they're going to not hold for long. Yeah, they will fall, but I chose the wrong words, if anything. And sorry if I'm saying weird things because I'm jet lagged and I had to sleep a lot because of me arriving the other day back in California. But yeah, as you can see, Russians are continuing to advance southwest towards the villages outside of Chasiv Yar. And I shouldn't have said advance, but just say advance. But yeah, you all probably understand what I'm saying. Stupatsky is still contested right now, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Russians end up taking all of it very soon, during June itself. And the Russians have also advanced outside of the city of Toretsk, and have apparently cleared out these fields here, outside of the village of Kurdimivka, and are also contesting for the village of Delivka as well, and this Delivka too. And what do you got here? It appears that most, if not all, of the city of Toretsk has fallen to Russia. Around 95 to 98% of it is now under Russian control. It appears that the outskirts and all the Terrakons have now been seized by the Russians. And it appears that the Ukrainians don't really have a lot of, territory left within the city. And it wouldn't surprise me soon if they ordered their remaining troops within these two parts of the city to be evacuated. And speaking of which, it looks like the suburbs of Toretsk, Novospassky and Shishir-Banivka, are getting cauldroned as we speak, because Zoria and Romanovka, along with its outskirts within the northern fields, are getting swept up by the Russians. And as a result, cauldron, another one. I don't expect the Ukrainians to be here for much longer, and in fact, I think during, July, they're probably going to get cleared out, and as a result, Toretsk as a whole will fall to Russia, and then you will see more and more villages, including the village of Yablonovka, also fall to Russia too, which will eventually lead us to the Battle of Konstantinovka sometime in July, which is when I'm expecting it to start. And in the eastern Pokrovsk direction, or Krasnaya Armysk, the Russians have cleared the village of Shevchenko-Pershe and have apparently taken most, if not all, of the village of hold on, I gotta pronounce this correctly. Kapajive. Yeah, there we go. and have also completely taken control of the village of Malinovka too, and are contesting for the village of Myron. I think this was the same case during my last video, but it appears they're pushing even more aggressively now. And as far as I know, like once the Russians clear this pocket here of Ukrainians, then Mykolaiivka and Konomichny will be contested for, which will put Mayanograd in jeopardy. Russians have also reportedly advanced outside of the town of Grudivka. And, yeah, it appears that they're trying to advance towards the village of Promin. The Russians in Pokrovsk itself have been advancing within the suburbs, though Ukrainians have been trying to fight back by retaking some houses here. But it doesn't appear that things are working as well within the Krasnaya Army's direction. But Ukrainians are really fighting hard to prevent the Russians from pushing any further into the city. The Russians have also retaken some areas they lost in Udachny, and the situation near the border with the Dnipropetrovsk region is crumbling fast. And as all of you know by now, the Russians have cleared most, if not all, of the villages that were on the border with Dnipropetrovsk region. And yeah, we should break it down, by the way. So most of the village of Novoserhivka has been taken by the Russians, along with Novoalexandrivka. The Russians have also taken most of the village of Novomykhailivka too, though we don't have any confirmations of the village as a whole being taken yet by the Russians. Muravka, for now, is safe, though I don't expect that to be the case for long. And it also appears that Troitske and Horikove have been seized by the Russians completely, and as a result, the Russians have finally reached, if not entered, the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. It is now official, the Russians have entered Dnipropetrovsk, and in addition, Oleksivka and Zeleny Kurt, which were also bordering Dnipropetrovsk, were also taken. And there's now also geolocation, or geolocated footage of the Russians themselves within Dnipropetrovsk. So, Russians are now in the region for the first time in 3 years, and Ukrainians, as you would imagine, are damage controlling the whole situation. It is a complete disaster for them. Deep State has also reported, along with various mappers, that the Russians have advanced towards the village of Zaporizhia, not to be confused with the city of Zaporizhia, which is on the Dnieper River. And a lot of these fields here north of Odradine, along with Komar, have also been seized by the Russians too. And also, I should mention, the village of Komar itself has now also finally been taken by the Russians. And the village of Piri Budova. And as a result, basically the entirety of the Velika Novosilka front has been leveled. The Russians now are in a good position to enter the Dnipropetrovsk region from the east and from the south. And they're just getting started because now that Komar has been taken, basically everything here is now a sitting duck. Shevchenko is apparently still not contested for yet, but I'm not expecting that to be the case for much longer. And Deep State UA has also pretty much but confirmed that Novopol has fallen to the Russians too today. But yeah, it appears that the Russian offensive into the Dnipropetrovsk region has started, though I am not expecting it to go so quickly as some would imagine it to be. Ukrainians are building big defenses within the region itself, but the big question, though, is do they have the manpower to stop the Russian offensive within Dnipropetrovsk? Time will tell, but as far as I know, it appears that the Russians are wrapping up the remainder of the west or southwest Donetsk region, which will then allow the Russians to advance into Dnipropetrovsk without that much of a problem. There's also now report that the Russians have started advancing in the Guleipol direction, especially in the village of Malinovka. And if they are to take Malinovka, then basically they will then have a straight shot at Guleipol from the east. But they got to take all these villages here, though, before they can start doing that. But also, I think they need to go into Dnipropetrovsk and advance from the north towards the south in order to, flank or encircle Galeopol. There's also reports of some fighting in the Orikhiv direction, though it's not quite clear what's really going on here. But I assume it's not good stuff for the Ukrainians. And, yeah, so that pretty much wraps it for basically everything here on the main front line. And last but not least, we got the Sumy direction. Ooh, yeah. Things have not been looking too good for the armed forces of Ukraine in the last couple of weeks since I left. They lost the village of Yablonovka, they lost Andriivka, they lost Oleksivka, they lost Konstantinovka, they lost Novokonstantinivka, they lost Kandrativka, they lost Oleksivka, they lost Novomykolaivka, and they're also in the process of losing Satki and Yanakovka too. Roughly half of Yanakovka is under Russian control, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Russians were to reach these areas just north of these forested areas here in the future as well. And the Russians have also began their push towards the town of Myropilya. And if they were to take this, it may become the capital, like temporary capital of Russian-occupied Sumy region. Though I do expect it's going to be Yanakovka first, before they move it to Myropilya. There was even reports of the Russians entering the village of Khotin, but we don't really have much confirmations of it. And if this were to be confirmed, this would be the equivalent to the Russians entering or, I don't know, taking Lipsy north of the city of Kharkov or Kharkiv. And but we don't have enough information to confirm this yet. But also, it seems as if the Ukrainians have slowed the Russians down for now in the Sumy region. But I don't know how long that's going to last. And as all of you know by now, the Ukrainians were trying to seize the village or town of Tetkino in the last week or two, but it doesn't seem to have been successful so far. And if you ask me, I think this is only going to get the Russians to push from Tetkino within Kursk region to push towards Sumy region, especially the big town of Bilopila. So, yeah, keep an eye on that. They're probably going to try to advance from Tetkino towards here, but who knows? What I do know for sure is that Yanakovka is likely going to fall to the Russians, and Myropilya is going to also be contested in the future soon. The Russians are probably going to try to take everything outside of these forested areas, and then they'll probably fire upon the Sumy, the city of Sumy itself with FPV drones once they're able to achieve their goals within the bordering areas within Sumy region. And then after that, they'll declare a military civil administration, like a junta or whatever you want to call it. And then they'll start maybe the groundwork for potential referendums within Sumy city. I mean, not Sumy city, but Sumy region. So yeah, the Russians have gained a lot of territory since I was gone. And wow, just look at this. Donetsk city is all but safe now from typical artillery shells. And all there's really left to be a potential threat to the city of Donetsk is Pokrovsk. But also these areas outside of Toretsk too. But once these areas are clear, the Ukrainians pretty much have no way to get back into Donetsk. And with the supposed start of the offensive into the Dnipropetrovsk region, I'm expecting the summer of 2025 to only worsen for the armed forces of Ukraine. So that is going to do it for today's video. I'm glad to be back. I hope everybody has been safe despite the craziness that has been going on all over the world. And I'll see you all next week, because now that the summer campaign has started, I'm expected to make more videos more frequently. So, yeah. Hope everybody has a great day, and I'll see you all next time. So take care, and peace out. Bye.